Okay, so before we get started in terms of we just finished roll call, if you're driving, please do not have your cameras on. If you're not, we'd love to see your face if you're able. Anybody have any declarations of conflicts they need to disclose as we get started today, as you look at the agenda items or consent agenda?
This is Ray. I'm contracted to help with the Cub, so I don't know if there's any decisions on that. If there is, then I will abstain.
Okay, thanks, Ray. We're not making any decisions, at least on that item today, so we are good. Anybody else? All right. Moving on. Are there any, before I ask for approval of the consent agenda, are there any questions on any items on the consent agenda? Anything noticed on, I apologize, on the October 6th meeting? I was sitting in Manson School District. Any changes that or additions that may need to be made to the meeting minutes or questions on the monthly financial report before I ask for approval? I'm using my teacher wait time. You don't have to say anything. I'm just using my teacher wait time for processing. All right. Hearing none, I would entertain motions to approve the consent agenda.
This is Manuel, so moved.
We have a first.
I'll second. It's Peter.
Thank you, Peter. Peter, we have a first and second. It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented in our original packet without any additions or corrections or adjustments. All those in favor, please say aye or give us the thumbs up sign.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say no or thumbs down. Okay, motion carries. Thank you. All right, and we're 2 minutes ahead of schedule. I like that. John. We have it. We have it in our packets. If you like to follow along, or not in our packets, attached in the calendar invite if you like to follow along that way. But next we have our executive director update from John. John, take it away.
Thank you, Linda. And just to kind of emphasize what Linda said, normally we've sent out some presentations after the meeting, but we are going to try to attach them to the meeting requests in the future when ready, just so if you're ever looking for them, you have access to them. And also, if you want to be able to follow along at any point in time, you can do that as well. So just as Linda also prefaced, a lot of today is really about prepping and getting kind of information in preparation for our annual board meeting in December. So you'll see a review of our slate of officers and board members. You'll get a draft of our annual budget. You have an opportunity to get some details around the Community Care Hub, which there isn't specific action related to that more broadly, but we do have contracts that reach the board level of greater than 250,000 that requires board approval to enter into contract with. And so you'll be seeing that. And in the end, we'll also be getting a report out on our board retreat summary, just in some of the action steps we're planning to take in 2026, and asking board members for any feedback. The other thing I want to call out as well, and this came from the retreat, and so this is our first test associated with it. So when you look at the agenda, when you look at the middle column, it says proposed actions and questions. And so as part of the retreat, board members were hoping to have like key strategic questions to respond to in each of the presentation areas and react to. And so this is maybe our preemptive way of trying to get this started this meeting. And so normally that section would just list proposed actions or nothing. We're gonna be using that to list some strategic questions as well. We want the board members to think about in each section. So that's kind of a preference. If we go to the next slide. Before we get jumped into all of this, though, I really want to welcome two new Thriving Together staff members. Bailey Skinner, who started mid-September as our admin assistant, and Naomi Peasley, who started October 27th as our tribal engagement manager. And I have asked both of them to just take a minute or two to share a little bit about themselves. But we're excited to have both of them on board. I'm just going to say that. And they both just jumped right in with both feet into this process. And so I really just appreciate it. But Bailey, I'm going to let you're already off screen. I'm going to let you come off mute and just share one or two things about yourself to the board.
Hi everyone, my name is Bailey Skinner. I am living in Quincy. I actually just moved here from Oklahoma. I found this position in the process of moving from Oklahoma. So this was the only job I applied for in the area, which was really, really awesome to get this. And I have a background in a business administration and human resources. So that's what really drove me to the job, just seeing that there is opportunity for that. And I really agreed with the mission and of this organization and everything that was on the website. So that was one of the big reasons I really wanted to work for Thriving Together. It made me feel very warm and made me very happy to be involved with a organization like this.
Thanks, Bailey. And Naomi's in the room, so we're gonna coax her to come to the table and get right next to the owl.
And for the sake of staying and trying to be ahead of the schedule more than 2 minutes, I took notes to present. My name is Naomi Peasley. Why? I am a Caldwell tribal member of the Sinaiaks Nation, which is Arrow Lakes. That's what we are under the Caldwell tribe. I live in Malott, Washington. And I could go on and on about myself, but my most important role is I'm a mother of two beautiful teenage daughters. So that is number one role. However, here I am. This job called to me. I was shared, actually a few people shared it with me and said, this is you. And I kind of ignored it and yeah, whatever. And then I got curious and I looked into the website, and everything I've ever wanted to do in my life and my life purpose is helping people was this organization. And I knew I had to fill out the application and I knew I had to try. And if this was my purpose, then here we are. And here I am. That was my why, especially when I'm able to serve members of my tribal community. That was a big deal for me. Previously I was serving 29 tribes throughout the whole state of Washington, and now I get to serve my people. I'm excited for this job. What I'm excited for this job, for one, along with tribal sovereignty, which I'm very passionate about, there comes hurdles and there comes things that maybe people we can't navigate, and I am a very good navigator. I am really good about finding ways to make things happen, and I get stuff done. That's all there is to it. I get things done. Passion, again, helping people, but healing. I love working with our youth, and I am getting my master's in education right now. Youth is really important to me, and that is our future. 7 generations. Earlier, we were talking about we got to give it time. We call it the sacred 7 seconds. It was sacred 7, so we have our 7 generations ahead. So our 7 generations that we're serving. So that is who I am. Thank you so much, and I'm going to go back to the back of the classroom again.
You can stay there.
Yeah. And both Bailey and Naomi were at the summit. Naomi was able to attend prior to starting here, and Bailey was working hard that day. So if board members were at the summit, and thank you all who attended, you might have gotten a chance to meet both of them as well. If you go to the next slide. I'm just gonna give some basic statewide updates. I'm gonna try to keep a lot of this basic today, and we'll focus on our presentations and prep for the annual meeting. So just as a note, if it's come to question for anyone, the work through Thriving Together, the work through 1115 waiver at this point in time hasn't had really any impacts from the government shutdown federally. There may come a point in time where some of the payments might get delayed if the shutdown goes an extended period. But you can look at our financials, and we have healthy financials, so we'll be pretty safe in that regard. I will note, and we were talking to Rena, who's in the room today, that we're lucky that we aren't being impacted by that, but there are a number of agencies, partners, and residents who are. So I think it's good to be cognizant about that. And the biggest thing that came up is the discontinuation of SNAP benefits that are supposed to start this week. And I know there's some court things going on, but ultimately that's going to put a much greater stress on our food banks, our food pantries, and on a number of individuals who rely on those day in and day out. And so just trying to, again, stay in communication on where we can support those connections and what role we can play as a whole in ensuring some of our key systems stay interconnected. And Rena, I'm not to put you on the spot, but I don't know if I am putting you on the spot. From the Okanagan Community Action Council, is there anything that's top of the mind for you all?
Oh, boy. Well, we support a number of those vital conditions that you're concerned about, but the SNAP benefits, we have 9,019 individuals on SNAP. And Chelan, Douglas has about the same number. So we are concerned, how long this is going to go on. We are getting some aid from the governor's office. He is putting 2.2 million a week into food pantries. Our share of that is about 31,000, which then we divide between the 9 pantries. So we've been gearing up for a while, thinking that this might happen. Our pantries are all volunteer led. So they're doing what they can do, and a lot of people are out doing food drives and cash drives. So we'll just, we're accepting any help right now to stock those shelves.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So just keep that in mind. And as board members hear things, it's always good to share around, because it's just good to kind of have a pulse of what's going on in our community and see if and when there's places we can support. Staying kind of maybe in the government federal line, I'm gonna skip down a bullet. I think Carlene is drawing on my slide deck. Anyways, the Rural Health Transformation Fund. And so we had been having conversations with the healthcare authority about this. They have submitted it. The one thing to note is the federal government is required to respond by the end of December, is what they've let us know. So it will be an interesting process to see how Washington State and our rural partners are, what kind of funding we get, knowing that we're in the middle of a government shutdown and there is a response date. No worry, Carlene. I just noticed that coming up as I was chatting.
I didn't even know I could do that.
If you see lines on my PowerPoint, that's not me or my children. And then just another general state update is, as you all know, we're part of a broader statewide coalition of ACHs, and that coalition has hired an executive director. We're still in those early phases, so not all the announcements have gone out, so I can't share the name here, but just as a heads up, that is going through, and we're really utilizing that coalition to support building connection across state agencies, helping kind of support some of our legislative work around the coalition, as well as supporting collaboration across the 9 ACHs as we try to do more work with the state. And with that, just some general waiver updates. So the state of Washington, as part of this waiver, has had a portion focused on community information exchange. And in the last few months, they have selected a lead organization to help manage that, and that has been CoMagine Health. And the coalition also provide a supporting letter and some level of partnership with CoMagine as part of that community information exchange. So we will have information filtered down to us in that process for the state. The state has also been talking, and I'm sure a lot of our clinical partners have been in this, trying to figure out where do we continue to support individuals when Medicaid eligibility comes to being checked twice a year, and partners and people are going to need to comply with work requirements. And so what role can our community care hubs play in that, in connecting people to the support they need to make sure that they are meeting the needs to stay compliant, to stay on Medicaid. And then the other key thing I would call out, just as an FYI for all, is ACHs have signed a memorandum of understanding with the managed care organizations to really support cross referral work in our community care hub work. And so this is going to be venturing into a space where regional community care hubs can support referring managed care individuals back and forth to support coordination of care and connection to services. Next slide. A few more localized updates I just really want to call out. We still have conversations and have been working on fiscal agent, fiscal sponsor agreements. So as you all know, we signed an agreement to provide fiscal agent support for the coalition of ACHs. We've also providing that similar support for PERC Padrinos locally. As Peter knows, we've been looking at how we support the CHI and some fiscal support services as well. And then we've had conversations with the Interfaith Justice Coalition, and they were actually one of the first organizations that helped us venture down this path. And they are actually going to be partnering more with a national or a state organization, Faith Action Network, to provide fiscal support. And honestly, that was a good choice for them. It's more in alignment with their organization. I know you've all worked with Summer Hess, but Kristen, Summer, and I have been in some of those conversations, as well as Veronica. And, it was really seeing what was fit, and that was the best fit. So it's, it's nice to know that we can be part of the conversations and help organizations find what works best for them. Other just more detailed operational updates is our team is in the process of adopting a project management software called Asana. And we are not putting Asana into our office, but it is a project management software tool. And I really want to give Bailey a shout out for that, because she is the one spearheading that work in our team. We're also digging in more into grants, fund development, and working with contracting with individuals to provide more grant development support. Thankfully, after approving the audit, we are just finalizing our 990 filing, and you will all get a copy of our final 990 for this next year. We have, and I know I've shared this in the past, but in partnership with North 40 Productions and our recovery community, we have finalized recovery documentary, and we are currently in partnership with North 40 applying for film festivals across the state and the nation to be a premiere for that documentary. And so as that develops, we'll give you all a little bit more of an update. I would really, really love to share the documentary with you, but we've been made aware that, film festivals really like to be the premiere. And if it gets out, then that puts our risk on film festivals. So we've been working with North 40 to provide a strategic way of release for the films. And when we are able to get it set up to share with the board, you all will be the first individuals. One of the first, I should say, I can't promise the first individuals to watch the film. And then I got an update from the Community Foundation for the Parent Leader Training Institute that we've been supporting as well. And they had also let me know that they started there and they're halfway through their cohort in Grant County, and that's been going very well. We supported, as an FYI for you all, the training for facilitators for that Leadership Institute, as well as childcare support for the individuals that are going through it. They look for individuals in the community that don't have necessarily any leadership experience and go through a cohort of individuals to build up civic engagement, leadership engagement, and they provide support for them to get through that. It looks like, oh, you got Jody? Okay, it was popping up. All right, go to the next slide. I gotta keep going through this. Just a few updates on the summit recap, and I know there'll be a full summit report later on, but I didn't feel like we could wait that long to celebrate the work that Veronica, Wendy, Teresa, Bailey, Kristen, Caroline, everyone. I guess I could just go through the whole team, really put into our annual summit. If you go to the next slide. I'll cover some of this quickly, but you can see the key summit purpose. Really, I would sum it up was to bring partners together, to inspire hope, and to start continuing to build those connections and tools. And we had a number of individuals, because of the climate, just come in with a level of fatigue and just leave with a level of inspiration. And to me, that's really a success. I think our region does amazing things together. And sometimes we just have to be reminded, outside of all the noise, we're here for each other and we're here together. And so I think that was partly one of the things of the summit this year, is in the midst of all this turmoil, having an opportunity for all of us to realize and come together to demonstrate what we can be in North Central Washington. If you go to the next slide. Yeah, we had 180 individuals attend. So we had a pretty amazing attendance, up significantly from last year. I will share the vital condition grant recipients. 7 guest speakers sharing local, regional, and national insights. We had 12 breakout sessions where it was really a open space format where people were able to comment on different things. And if you go to the next slide, these were the different kinds of breakout sessions. I had the opportunity of leading the advocacy breakout, so really shaping our advocacy agenda. And it was amazing to hear what our partners in our network organizations were really looking for, what kind of support they're looking for in advocacy, and how they really want to lean into that work. And I'm going under the assumption that every other breakout had that same kind of feel, just that same kind of engagement and excitement to be a part of that discussion. And then we did give out our first 2 Thriving Together awards. That's not on the next slide, but and so we gave an award to Sue Kane for the Heart of Belonging. And now I should have had the titles right in front of me. I'm gonna
Network weaving.
and Maria Hines for Data and Network Weaving. 2 amazing people who are part of our region and part of our network that have been supporting this work. And you can keep flip through the next slide. Here's just a few key takeaways and messages from individuals. We also had a photo booth, which I have to give a shout out for whoever chose to do the photo booth. I will assume that someone in our team came up with that amazing idea. And you can see just the smile on faces. And again, I was amazed to see that thing full and people just really happy to be together and to be thinking about how they collectively come together in this work. Next slide. When you look at, we had the opportunity to announce our vital conditions grant awards. So altogether, we awarded $495,000 to 18 organizations across the region. And you can really see just on the map where those organizations were distributed. Still, again, it was nice to see some level of distribution. We're hoping continually to see more and more spread distribution across the 4-county area as we do this in the future. Next slide. But this just gives you a sense of the different organizations that we funded. You can see in the center the vital conditions wheel, and then when you look at the line above each organization's name, that's the vital condition that the color associates with the color of the vital conditions their application was tied to. So you can see obviously just the multitude of colors and engagement across organizations, as well as the number of organizations that have continued to come and be part of this network. Next slide. And then just a few call outs on some attendance. So I'm going to focus on the two pictures to the right. So Sarah actually had to leave the summit early, and Joey was unable to attend the summit because they were, and we saw Teresa Atkinson. I saw some pictures of you and Joey. They were down at the Washington State Public Health Conference, giving a presentation on lived experience in jail reentry and the environmental disparities mapping. So I appreciate their representation. I told Caroline I had to share the picture of us next to the alpaca. We had the opportunity in partnership with the other accountable communities to help to be at the Camden Coalition Conference in Portland about 2 weeks ago. And this is really focused on putting care at the center. There was a lot of conversation around accountable communities of health and community care hubs in this conference, and so we were there to be present. A number of our ACH's colleagues presented on behalf of us. And there was also a llama line, which was much longer, so we felt the need to give this is the alpaca, right? I keep getting them mixed up. A little bit of love and get into line with them. I can't comment if I actually feel comfortable that they dressed up an animal. And if that's really nice or not, but we still took a picture.
You do look uncomfortable and it's like,
What's the
did they spit on you?
I'm not sure there's a real no
You
spitting.
look like you're ready to run.
And you know, those animals were in that area for a while. Caroline seems more at ease.
I actually had my face like right into the alpaca and she's like, why don't you move away?
We couldn't figure out how they manage the restroom needs of the animals either. In conjunction with the hotel, because they were standing there for a while.
That was a system.
Yeah, diaper on.
Nice.
So why not end my ED update on that? So there was a lot more to the conference than the alpaca, but it was kind of a fun picture, so we felt the need to take it. Any questions on any of that?
The summit was great. It really was very inspirational. Nice. And you guys did a great job.
It was interactive. I really enjoyed the tables at the end. And the belonging, I was in the belonging table and it was an interesting conversation. I think it was 12 of us there. And you could see how we were divided of whole diversity. And about 15 minutes into the conversation, the group got really comfortable and just really shared from the heart. And it kind of surprised me. You know, because some of us would share, pronouns, half did and half didn't. That kind of set the stage. And it was really interesting how Juan and Dr. Morales facilitated. And it was really, and it said a lot about the attitude at the summit and what was being presented, and it kind of, people kind of engaged and really, so good job.
I wonder, is there a way to share the Columbia Basin Herald article, like an electronic version after the board meeting?
Yeah, I mean,
Let's see if I can find
yeah,
it.
Columbia Basin Herald did an op-ed, and I think they did an additional front page article, so we'll share that out. Ryan says she has the link, so Ryan, if you want to put it in chat, and if there's a membership requirement, anyone who has a membership who can PDF that and share that,
Oh,
or do we have
I
a?
think we have a subscription to there.
We will share that out with the board, and if anyone knows the Wenatchee world, it might be a good time to give them a little brief. So make sure they're there next time. All right, with that, I am turning it back to Linda.
Okay. Sticking with our little bit of transition of format, does anybody have or want to share, are there any two topics you guys would like to hear more about at a future meeting? And you don't have to pick two, you can pick one.
Well, thank you, Linda. Or anything just in general you want to hear more about during my ED updates to make sure that we're covering in more detail. Because we're not covering every program every time. Manuel, you almost look like you want to speak.
Almost, yeah. I guess the only thing that comes to mind, I don't know how pertinent it is, but I don't know how connected you are with the other ACHs. Maybe just a summary of activity going on across the state. Maybe some innovative thoughts and comments from other ACHs that we could think about doing ourselves or make ourselves feel better because no one is doing as much as we're doing.
Okay.
I mean,
we are the best
I hear mixed comments from, my circle of colleagues in the community health center and health world about just how ineffective their ACH is, and I'll keep them nameless, but it just seems that we're doing a lot, and so it's just curious about what others are doing and what from your connections and what you see.
I'll put that on future agendas. I see them a lot. We meet weekly, and then we meet monthly in person. We meet weekly via Zoom. And transparently, a lot of the conversation has been over consuming around the 1115 waiver and community care hubs at this point in time at the state level, but I can bring updates and also some of the innovative things. An easy example is North Sound Accountable Community Health has a lot of alignment around our network and vital conditions work. So we do have a number of conversations, and we can share even lessons learned from them.
I see Ray has his hand up.
Yeah, I agree with Manuel. I would like to what's the state picture look like? And I think, John, you're perfectly positioned to kind of give us that information. So I appreciate that.
Cool.
All right. Good
Linda,
job.
thank you for asking the question that was in my section, having my back.
Hey, we're all a team here. We're all a team. Okay, Manuel. Oh, Teresa has a question before we move on. Teresa.
Yeah. Sorry, I was trying to find buttons and unmute. Along those same lines, reflected, I just came back from the WSPHA conference, and we had a panel, the new Secretary of Health, the new Secretary for Healthcare Authority, and just they were talking kind of visionary of what they see coming. It is a lot of doom and gloom, there's no doubt, but I do like their engagement together, because that's one of the things we've been asking for, is that as sister organizations, we need them partnering more and working more collaboratively. But I think it would be good for our ACH to hear from the new Healthcare Authority Secretary and kind of the direction he sees taking that organization, since it aligns and is the kind of the host of where these funds come from.
Arlene, can you explain your comment in the chat a little bit more, just so I know what you're thinking?
Yes, sorry, it took me a minute to get to my mute. Yeah, I would like to, I'm getting a chance to see similar organizations across the country with different operational pieces in different ways. And I would love to just have a show and tell with your staff, John.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, from them, because I think you guys are doing a great job.
Perfect.
Okay, we got those.
All right. Yep.
All right. Now, Manuel.
All right. Hi, everyone. So the governance committee has been busy interviewing candidates who've expressed interest in joining our board. I can't remember if John and I shared that we've kind of been proactive in reaching out to particularly Grant and Okanagan County prospective board members. And so after having interviewed a couple of candidates, we are presenting two for the rest of the board's approval. And I'll go one by one just to give you a chance to screen the sheets. But the first nominee that we'd like to present is Miss Jody DeCesare. You can kind of see her background. Again, the governance committee felt like she would make, she's applying for the right reasons and would bring good skill set and knowledge base to our board. So I don't know if this is coming with a motion or if we need a motion, John, from a Robert's rules. I'm tired and at a loss of how to proceed. Just call for the vote.
Yeah,
I think we need a motion.
Motion, discussion, and vote.
yes.
I motion to bring on, what was her name?
Jody,
Jody.
the Cesare, is that it? I practiced this and I'm now.
Jody, I motion to bring on Jody Tessary.
Yeah.
Or
Jody,
as pronounced by Jody.
I apologize for the inability for us all saying your last name
She's
differently.
hurt her feelings.
It's DeCesare.
DeCesare. Thank you, Jody.
Hi, Jody.
I nominate or vote, I motion to bring Jody DeCesare onto the Thriving Together board.
I second that motion.
All right, thank you, Ruben and Dylan. Open for discussion prior to casting our votes.
Linda, I just want to say they were great interviews. Thank you.
I
Yeah,
will second that. This is Lori. Thanks.
I want to say that I've had a chance to work with Jody on the Chai Leadership Council for a couple of years and think she'd be a wonderful addition to the board.
Okay. All right, now, a motion was made and seconded. We'd had some discussion. All those in favor say aye or thumbs up on your screens, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Aye.
I like that one. Opposed, no, or thumbs down, please. Awesome.
All right.
Motion carried, Manuel. Congratulations. I'm going to say it so I can do it real quick. Jody DeCesare. Is that correct, Jody?
That is correct. Thank you.
Welcome aboard. Welcome to our team. All right.
Thank you. I'm excited.
All right.
Moving on.
Thank you. So moving along, the second candidate that the governance committee would like to present for board approval is Miss Rena Shaver, and I don't know if she's on or not. I didn't see, but again, I'll give you an opportunity just if you haven't read her bio. As the rest of the governance committee members said, the interviews were very positive, and we're excited to present Miss Rena Shaver.
Is that how we say it?
Yeah, say no, really good on the pronunciation. Thank you.
Hi, Rena. I'm glad to see that you're there in person.
Yeah, yeah, I'm glad to be here in person. Love that picture.
So as soon as anybody is ready, I'll take a motion. Sorry, Linda, if you want to drive it, you can drive it.
I'm good with you driving.
So I move to accept Rena Shaver as a board member for Thriving Together.
This is
I am going to make a.
This
that we
Carlene and
accept
I'll
it.
second.
All right.
Thank you.
Was there a comment from the gallery there?
Emilio was trying to get into the emotion, but he got pushed out each time.
Oh.
All right.
That's a rare occurrence that he gets pushed out, you know.
Very, very rare.
It was.
All right. Well, if there's no comments, then I will start the vote. For all in favor to approve Rena Sauver's appointment to the board, please say aye or thumbs up.
Aye.
I
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? All right, we have two new board members, and I appreciate both of their interests and excited to have them on board. Great, increasing our representation from key constituents up in Okanagan County. Just on a side note, we have been talking to some individuals from Grant County, and John, I don't know if you had any comments from your visit to Samaritan. I couldn't make it with you guys.
So I had a chance to talk to Teresa Sullivan and Alex Town from Samaritan Healthcare to see their potential interests on going through the board application process, and sent them some information. I met with them a little bit. They're going to think about it a little bit. The Samaritan has a new hospital coming on board in 2026. So I think they wanted to make sure that they could commit while also having a new hospital starting up. And so that was primarily some of the concern around it. Teresa is retiring this next year, and Alex will be moving into the CEO role, and I believe that's all public at this point in time. So he would be the one who's looking at joining the board, or we had conversation and if there's any other recommended leadership. Manuel, and I've had a conversation. I know Rosalinda's not, I don't think Rosalinda's on. If she is, I mentioned it to Rosalinda when I saw her on Friday as the one of the healthcare hospital seats on the board, as well as getting her input and other thoughts if they're one of them, or if Alex isn't able to be on the board. And then Manuel also had a conversation with Senator Short as Senator Warnick is coming off the board. And Manuel, I saw Senator Warnick on Friday as well, and just talked to her about Senator Short and or any other ideas she had if she's not available.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. So yeah, so we're just actively recruiting. So thanks for that update. The last item. Go ahead.
Sorry, just as a note for everyone, I think ideally, as much as we can recruit in Grant County with Rosalinda and Senator Warnick coming off the board, those are 2 Grant County seats. So it does just emphasize the need to keep focused on how we also can recruit in Grant.
All right. The last item then that I have from the governance committee is preparing for December elections. In your packet, you'll see a draft election slate. We have 4 members coming up for reappointment to the board. Myself, Dr. Peter Morgan, Linda McKay, and Nikki Lewis. And then so we'll be electing those 4 reappointments. And then on the executive committee slate, we have spoken with the existing individuals in the chair, vice chair, and treasurer. They have all indicated a willingness to do another term. We do have an opening for the secretary position. So if you are interested, please reach out to John or myself to put your name into the hat. Or if you want to elect somebody else, you can send their names to us too, and we'll talk to them. But so we do have that one secretary position available. John, would you be able just to give a general explanation of the duties of the secretary?
Yeah, for the secretary, typically, they help keep the minutes of the exec committee. They act as an exec committee member. And we've never had a real, with our organization pretty much keeping the minutes, sharing it with the board, and then storing it on our file. We've never had that need for the secretary to do the formal board minutes and that. I don't think, Teresa, you've sent them for review of the secretary in the past, right? Okay. So, so it's playing an additional role on the exec committee. And, you know, again, the hope would be as we get people on the exec committee, they can kind of continue to move up and play a chair role at some point in time. And we can have a level of rotation on there, so we don't completely replace one or two of the committees at any one point in time. Not that you have to, that's not be chair in the future, but it's nice to think about as well.
So we'll need, think about a nomination for secretary. And then the other committees on the finance committee, we've had people roll off of that. And so Peter Morgan is the only individual currently listed. And if you have any interest in joining the finance committee, and new inductees included, feel free to let John or myself know.
And I'll make a plug for that. Sarah, we have a lot of fun on finance, don't we? I mean, it's a good fun place to be. So
It is. It is. We talk a lot of shop, and oftentimes it's a Friday morning, so we all have coffee together, sit and talk some finance for half hour, 45 minutes.
This sounds pretty exciting.
It is for me.
We don't get coffee.
there you go.
We don't get coffee on exec either.
All right.
Yours is, finance is right in that sweet spot of 8:30 in the morning.
We're at 7 a.m.
Now, too early to brew it.
Yeah.
And then the last committee then is the governance committee. We have a full team, but we're always open to individuals who might be interested in governance. And I can't say we necessarily have a lot of fun, but it's interesting. I enjoy the people that are on the finance committee with me, on the governance committee.
Yeah.
Whoa, that was a slip.
Yeah. I told you, I just got back from a week of being out of the office. And so it's like one of those Mondays that hits hard.
Okay, you're excused.
If our finance committee is the one who's talking it up and having the most fun, we need to start jazzing up our other committees.
And yet we're the full roster for governance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
but
yeah,
now
so
we
just-
demand some drinks there.
So this is just FYI. These will be voted on in December. So if you have any questions or thoughts or comments about some of the open positions or any interest that you have in switching or moving around, please reach out to John.
And remember, all the committees are fun. So you heard that, you know, the rest of us are going to up our games with coffee. And remember what happens when you miss a meeting in December? You might find yourself on a committee. I'm joking. Seriously, if you're interested, talk to John, talk to Manuel, talk to any of us on the committees. We'd love to have you. All right. So quick question. We've only been here for about 55 minutes. Do we we could move with Sarah and our draft annual budget presentation and then take a break, or do we want to take a break now?
Let's do
Prefer to
Sarah
move.
and
Sarah and then break? Is that what you're proposing, John?
yeah.
Okay. All right, Sarah, you said your committee's the funnest. We're ready to have some fun with this presentation.
Absolutely. So, John, would you mind sharing? I can't remember what page it is in the packet, page 21.
Yeah, Kristen's bringing it up.
Yeah.
The first page,
Yeah.
how's that?
Good. Okay, so I want to spend a few minutes just kind of giving you guys sort of the overview of the draft as it sits right now. So as you can see, the number of contracts we're evaluating in 2026 is about 150 contracts. And between 25 and 26, we give you guys the variance as to what those changes are. Okay, so I'm going to take a few minutes and just kind of go through the revenue. So first of all, the difference in grant revenue is that we have some stable grants like Carillon and the Behavioral Health Block Grant. We are looking to get a couple additional grants in 2026 as we build that presence out. You guys will have heard John in his presentation that that's one of the focus areas is grant and funding. The next thing you're going to see is the waiver revenue, and you are going to see a decrease. And this is because we were receiving a high performance pool, which is a really fancy way for saying everyone gets an attaboy for meeting program metrics. And we, for waiver 1, and we got our last payment in 25. So we no longer have that in 2026. And so that's the major decrease there. So we're looking at about 6.7 million in revenue for 2026. Okay, Kristen, if you could slide down and get all expenses in.
Sarah, can I add, because
Yeah, add in.
Consistent stream of waiver revenue, which is this HRS and service payment that stays straight across the board. But we also have this infrastructure funding stream that's, basically slated to ratchet down year after year as we get down to the end of the waiver. So the decrease isn't necessarily unexpected. There's some adjustments based on what actuals are per projected, but that drop is expected. It's also similar for those of you who've been around in the initial waiver, similar to waiver 1, where there was a lot of upfront funding and then it went down year after year.
Yep. Okay.
Well, I was just wondering how you're gonna make up the $900,000 shortage.
Scroll up.
You guys are killing me here. I can't get it to fill the screen just right. Just try this again.
You mean in the waiver revenue? I would say generally at the start, we earn more revenue than we spend. And we start to kind of like, so you see our revenue higher going down, and because we're a smaller region, it just takes a little bit to build, so you see expenses going up. But in the end, at the end of the waiver, it should balance out to 0. You just might have a higher expense than revenue in the later years because of it.
Yep. Peter.
So Sarah, one of the things you presented at Finance that we're not seeing here, but might be helpful at some point, is to show the spend down, because most of us are looking at, net negatives on results of operations as, wow, that's terrible. How are we going to make up for that? Whereas, we're going to be in a spend down mode for a number of years. So you'll see the cash on the balance sheet decrease slowly over time, and then reach maybe a stable position where, we'll be supporting ourselves on things other than waiver revenues, perhaps, and reaching some sort of an equilibrium. But in the meantime, we'll be funding a lot of programs through waiver revenue, which, may or may not continue. Is that fair, John?
Yeah, and that highlights in the finance committee, we had a conversation of what is an appropriate, basically cash balance to have on hand. And so to Peter's point, we have the ability to ratchet down, and probably an expectation to get to a more reasonable amount of cash on hand than right now. We feel like it's proportionately higher than what we should have. So that bodes to seeing kind of negative projections for years to come.
Well, since they hit a lot of the program expense lines, I'm going to hit a couple of different ones. So, as far as salaries and wages goes, we always build in some market adjustments, but we also have anticipated a couple of positions. We always keep these kind of placeholders, and a lot of that is if an opportunity comes up in fiscal sponsorship that we may need a position, we've got something budgeted. A couple of the other areas that you guys are going to see is the contract services go up. And some of that has to do with regular cost adjustments that come with the contracts. And in accounting, we're actually budgeting for some fiscal agent and fiscal sponsor work, more of that. As you continue down, there's a couple of things I want to point out, mostly because they're new. Okay, so excise and use tax, that's kind of a really fancy way to say, hey, when you guys go off and do something, we collect a little bit of revenue for that to go into monitoring. So we do anticipate participating and giving more conferences. And what that means is now that's subject to B&O tax, which is something we will need to collect and remit. Now I know $2,500 in change doesn't make seems like it doesn't make a big difference, but we also don't want people to get sticker shock with this new thing, because this is one of the areas that can add up quickly. Okay, so as you can see, our events are going down by 32,000. This is actually because we're narrowing the use of the events. This is going to be limited to organization-wide events and not program events. And so that's part of the shift there. Okay, so this is the look when we look at just the straight statement of activities. If we now go to the next page, Kristen, we're going to look at specifically what our breakout is by our classes, or we like to say these more as our programs. So you're going to notice a big change here, and I'm going to let John really kind of come in and talk about this, but we actually are changing the titles of our classes to better align with our strategic plan. So John, did you want to talk a few minutes? Oh, go for it.
Yeah, and this has come up in a few conversations. It also became more evident when we were doing our annual report, and we recognized that our financial classes didn't always align with how we were reporting our work in our annual report, and that we needed to look at how our classes align with our priorities and really helping tell the story in the work that we do. So you can't see it up here, but when you look at our current budget, you really see the classes for care coordination, behavioral health, and network support. And network support has in some ways become a catch-all for everything that doesn't fall under behavioral health and care coordination. Our three priorities are around building out the vital conditions network, building in civic muscle and belonging, and really leaning into those concepts, and building into systems of care. And so we're developing our classes in a different way. And so, we still have our admin class, which is really anything that's not programmatic that we charge to. We have a class that we're transitioning to systems of care, which includes anything we do under care coordination. We do have some behavioral health work. We've done some telehealth work. A lot of that will start. Anything that's really supporting, connecting people to care in any way is going to fall under that class. And then a lot of that, our work under our first two strategic priorities is really built into that network and the network.
Just a minute. Just a minute.
And so we're really defining that as a network support class. So we're kind of really blowing the three we have down to two. And then you'll see up here as well is we're really calling out our fiscal sponsor support and class as a line item, so we can start looking at how we're providing fiscal sponsor support and building that out. Because right now we have a contract with the coalition and that comes with revenue. And then we are going to be tracking our expenses under all of that, so we can see if what we charge for fiscal support balances out our ultimate goal in the future is that really to be a net neutral line item. And those kind of really the adjustments and changes to how we're going to be breaking this out. We also feel like this is pretty consistent with our vision for the next 3 to 5 years. So we don't see any major adjustments coming over the next few years.
Yep. So one of the main things to look when you are looking at this breakout by class is the proportion of how much administration time we spend versus what we're dumping into our programs and our projects. Okay, and our goal is always to be at 15% or less. And so this upcoming year, we have budgeted to have a 12% admin rate. This admin rate is really important because and tracking this is important because we're looking to get into new funding. And so one of the things and metrics that are always in the financial statements is where we're kind of sitting in that admin rate. And so if there's one thing you walk away from, right, in all the financial statements you look at, good, bad, ugly, please keep an eye on that. That's a big indicator for us and how we can transition out of waiver and into our long-term program goals. Does anyone have any questions? Again, you can always email John. John can pass it on to me. And we can work through any questions you have. The last page we have just disclosed to everybody the assumptions that we've made. And this is just important for everyone to kind of have their eyes on, in the sense that, of course, we all don't know the future, but we did take a stab at what we suspected to happen in 2026. And like Peter mentioned earlier, just in wrap up, in December, we will be also adding with the budget to support that a projection of spend down. This is going to look to be our statement of activities. It will be the balance sheet, and then it's also going to have a cash flow piece. And with that, that's my presentation.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.
Of course.
Any questions?
I was just going to ask that. So can I ask a quick question about, and if I missed this,
Always.
I apologize. Under budget assumptions, when you say we have seen an increase in presentation requests at conferences and events, is that people reaching out to us, asking us to present, or our staff submitting like call for proposals? I'm just curious.
A little bit of both. I think like our statewide coalition is also looking at how we get more actively involved and get our name out there, which includes sometimes piecing that out. So the presentation that Joy did at the public health conference, that came out of a conversation at the coalition level, and then North Sound executive director Liz facilitated that with a partner of theirs and Joey. So that was a little bit more of an ask kind of format. We've also submitted a few proposals to get some of our work out there. And then every so often we've gotten staff who wanted to. So it's kind of an intermix of it all, but we're just seeing a little bit more of an increase interest to get our name and the work we're doing out there.
Okay. Like I said, I was just curious. Stood out. Anybody else with questions or a question?
The only other note I would make is, as to expect, the final budget will come in December. If there are tweaks to it that just occur through the contracting process and getting things set, you might see a few adjustments that will get flagged for the December meeting. But I would say that this is pretty much, we're pretty almost there, pretty close to set on the budget. You wouldn't see major adjustments, but just a few here and there.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah, John.
Of course.
Committee, all your work on that.
That's okay. It's not work. It's fun.
It is. with coffee.
I have a CPA son of Bean County, Sarah. I get it. I get it. Right there with you. All right. Okay, again, thank you very much. We are going to, if there's no more questions, we're going to take a 5-minute stretch break, get up, move around, and we'll come back at 3:15 if that.
Just a shout out to everyone who is on there, but I just want to call out, because I want to focus on the logo on the bottom leftish side, the North Central CCH Action Health Partners Thriving Together Advance logo, just because I really want to emphasize that this is a partnership between the three agencies. We are working very jointly and collaboratively together with these agencies and with our advisory community network members to really build this out. And so I don't want these to be seen as contracts or anything else solely, but this is our North Central Community Care Hub. This is really, I don't use the word joint venture, but it is jointly done together with our three agencies and our community partners. And we really want to emphasize that's the way we're going in this region. One of the focuses for Thriving Together has always been to lean on those partners in our region that are doing this work and doing it well and building the infrastructure to support them. And that's why this, uniquely to us, this is why we have this joint partnership, which I would say in other ACH regions, it's the ACH doing the community care hub. But for us, we recognized those two agencies' strength and leadership. I know there is a few community care hub advisory committee members in the room, so I'm going to go to the participant list. And I actually, if you're a community care hub advisory committee member, I'm going to ask you to unmute and introduce yourself. Kim, I see you, so I don't see anyone else yet, but I can figure you out.
Hi, everyone. I am Kim Ferguson Hatfield, and I am with Catholic Charities.
Ray, I know you're on.
Ray
Hey, John.
Eichmeyer.
This is Kathy Olson with Molina Healthcare. I'm also a part of the Hub Advisory Group.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you, Kathy.
Ray Eichmeyer, I'm also part.
Good afternoon,
And
Crystal
Rena.
Ackerman with Carolyn Behavioral Health.
Thanks, Crystal.
Had everybody online. Rena Shopper with Community Action in Okanagan County.
And Deb and Alia, you, I know you're the organizations on the logo, but introduce yourselves too.
Deb Miller, Action Health Partners.
And Alia Kidwai from Family Health Centers in Advance.
Am I missing
And
anyone?
Tammy, you want to introduce yourself as well?
Hi all, I'm Camille Yasinich. I work at Action Health Partners over the community-based care coordination programs.
So the advisory committee helps advise in the work that we're doing under the community care hub. So a shout out to all those who are part of it and continue to meet with the team to help build out this process. And again, a shout out to both Advance and the Action Health Partners team who are heavily leaning into this and have many meetings with us to continue to work.
And they're
this out.
co-presenting today. so-
And co-presenting today. That is, again, one of our goals is really to jointly demonstrate how this is a collaborative. And so we are doing this jointly together because, again, we are doing this as one North Central Community Care Hub. If you go to the next slide. The other update I really get to share with you is focused on, so a lot of this work is funded and done through the 1115 waiver. And to give you guys an insight on our actual health-related social needs initiative budget. So we've had 2 years at this point in time, DY9 and DY10. And you can see they don't operate on calendar years, they operate on state fiscal years. So there's a little bit of a variance in when you're looking at our calendar year budget to these numbers. So just recognize that. But For DY9, July 2024 to 2025, we had a total of 6.6 million. For DY10, a total of 5.6 million. And then again, I'm not going to get into all the details here under each infrastructure thing or each line item, but what you can see as a whole is services pretty much stay consistent throughout the year. Infrastructure, which is really focused on upfront investments and supporting building that infrastructure, ratchets down year after year. So you can see 9, it went from 3.3 to 2.4, and DY11, we actually just got estimates on that, and it's staying right around, I think, 2.1 million when I looked at it last, and then DY12, that will actually ratchet off. But the services dollars will stay the same. So you can see those funds will slowly, the revenue will decrease over time during the length of the waiver. Thank you, Caroline. Yeah, DY stands for demonstration year. We are in 9 because they've just been continuing the tack on year since the existence of the first waiver. But if you think of renewal, that would be year 1. And then I think you can see some of the notes down here. Infrastructure funds must be spent down by the end of the waiver, which is 6/30/2028. So that's total infrastructure funds summed up. And then they have on the service funds, they have a year to spend it from the year that you earn it. And so we have methodology on the back end where we apply funding to service dollars and we apply funding to infrastructure dollars. That is probably a more detailed presentation. So I will change
Pass it to me.
slides and pass it to Caroline.
Yep, next slide. Perfect. So for the current year that we're in, our hub's priorities are to strengthen Action Health Partners and advances backbone staffing. So there's some exciting hirings happening right now. They already kind of started building up their teams last year as well. We're also still trying to optimize the IT infrastructure, and this has been a really huge lift, and it's incredibly difficult to build a community-based care coordination platform from scratch. There's still a lot of challenges, and we're continuing to meet to see if it's still the right fit. We're having actually a pretty big meeting tomorrow to discuss that, and currently our vendor is called VisionLink. And some of the other hubs use different vendors, and there's some consolidation happening at the state level that we're watching for, but this is definitely going to be occupying our time this year as well. Another priority is to strengthen the network supports, so providing technical assistance and trainings and peer sharing opportunities for those folks who are doing the work on the ground. And then lastly, we really are focused on increasing referrals and caseloads this year. It's something that the healthcare authority is going to start to pay more and more attention to for all hubs. And I think you'll hear a little bit later when Deb shares out that it takes a while to get this engine going and moving. So this year we can expect some increases in referral numbers, but I think we're still going to be looking for that growth and expansion in DY11 and in 12. So there's still lots of growth ahead. And one of the things that we will share out soon with you all is we've been working on a joint website for our North Central Community Care Hub that will help with getting referrals from partners. Like ideally, it's communicating what we do in a really easy way. It's communicating how to make referrals in a really easy way. And that should go live fairly soon. And huge shout out to Morgan, who's been helping with that. Next slide. Our objectives for this current year that we're in are pretty bold. We want to get to 30 FTEs. Those are the boots on the ground that are contracted through our hub. We want to eventually get to 3,500 referrals per year and 2,000 clients served per year. And just to give you a little sense of where we're at right now, we're at about 19 FTE right now. And last quarter, we got about 330 some referrals. So if you multiplied that by 4 to get a year's worth, we're about like a third, half the way there. And then in terms of clients enrolled, last quarter we had 293 clients enrolled. So we haven't been able to pull annual data yet. Pulling the data is dependent on our IT infrastructure, which is a little clunky, but we'll get there, and we're making some improvements so we can see like what's going on and how we're doing in terms of meeting our objectives. I also want to call out that when you see these objectives here, this is really specific to the waiver dollars. So remember our North Central Community Care Hub partnership with Advance and Action Health Partners, we're trying to weave different programs together, including Health Home and including the Recovery Navigator program. Those are not reflected in these particular objectives. These are just the waiver objectives. I will pause here just to see, are there any questions in the chat so far? I don't think so. So I will, let's turn it to the next slide. And Deb and Alia, maybe I'll let you talk a little bit about your network partners.
Sure. Hey, Alia, we haven't practiced, so I'm gonna read the slide left to right. And since AHP is on the left, I'll start and then pass the ball to you. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Awesome. All right. So hi, everybody. I think I know most of you, though this board is changing rapidly, so I don't feel I know everybody as well as I used to, but thanks for your interest in actually hearing about this hub today. I am super excited and super stoked about what we're seeing. So the map that you're looking at is like going back to that old day. I think Thriving Together used to have the beautiful network, colorful poster on the walls in your office. And I always described Action Health Partners as a dahlia. So here we are actually recreating our dahlia like one petal at a time, I think. So what you see here is Action Health Partners is currently contracted with 8 CCAs that are specifically working in the community care hub and employ the boots on the ground workforce. And Advance is one of those. So Alia gets that fun role of a dual position. She's both and. She's a hub with her recovery work, and she's a contractor with us. Actually, I'll start with 3 of the contractors, including Advance. So I'll call them out: Advance, Grant County Health District, and Lake Chelan Health were the 3 original CCAs that started this hub work before AHP became the lead hub org. And that was during COVID, and they responded to a DOH contract and contracted directly with DOH, I believe in 2022. Is that correct? And then in July 1 of 2022, AHP took it over during the pandemic. And then the other thing that I want to say that is critically important to remember about this network, and especially our original partners, our original contractors, is we have changed the program in essence 3 times. Started out as direct COVID response, then it was COVID recovery, and now we're at MTP 2.0 that is beyond both of those. So a big shout out to those partners. I guess all 3 of you are here on this call. A big shout out to all of you for your willingness to stick with us, because there's been a lot of unknowns each transition between each funded program. But I think our growing length of time with our relationships is really key. And sticking it out felt like it was tough for a while, but I think we're headed in the right direction. So in essence, then, rural resources came on during the COVID recovery. So really, we had 4 established contractors, and this past year, we've added 4 new contractors. There's more I'll say in a future slide, but that's all I'll say for now, and I'll pass it on to Alia.
Sure. I think it's really easy to get caught up in this crazy spider web of a map and the different colored dots. I mean, I'm part of the design team that put together the dots, and I'm supposed to fully understand them. I won't take credit. Actually, this is Caroline's expertise, but but really and truly, this is a mapping of formalization of relationships. So a lot of these relationships existed prior to this work without formalized MOUs and contracts. And so it's really exciting to embark on a journey where we're starting to see recognition from the state that it is important to have these relationships. And much like we see relationships being formalized in other sectors, it's important within the social care network to formalize these relationships. So Advance plays two roles, both a hub role, as Deb was describing, and then we also have boots on the ground doing client-facing work. So for Action Health Partners, for that contracted work, it's in Community Connect, and so we've got folks doing that work. And then we also have a couple of other programs that are not related to the hub, and then of course our recovery coach work as well, which is really an expansion of some of the work within the Recovery Navigator program, but I would say expansion because it allows us to absorb additional referrals from other sources that aren't necessarily prioritizing individuals who are justice involved, which really expands the ability to connect with folks in the community who need assistance. We also offer then as a hub a subcontract to do that same work in Chelan and Douglas County through CAFE. And Renew is doing that work right now via a contract with Thriving Together, and their relationship with Advance will formalize in the new year. We're also excited to be in contract discussions, formalizing our relationship with two additional community partners in November and December of this year. So by January 1, we're looking to have 5 subcontracted partners to do that work across the region. And I'll pause there.
Okay.
We can keep going.
Yeah, let's keep going. Next slide. And I can start it off, but this is like a combined totals of between AHP and Advance's waiver funded work. We have kind of quarter by quarter data, so you can see we're starting to grow the workforce. The referrals and enrolled clients are trending in the right direction. So it took a while to build last year, and now we're starting to like slowly take off. And I know that like you heard Alia say, there are plans to bring in new partners, which means we'll have more FTEs on the ground, and the referrals and enrolled clients should go up as well. So this is just what the data shows currently. And we're going to try to share this out with the advisory committee on a regular basis now that we can pull this a little bit more seamlessly. I'm not going to say it's fully seamless. But so this is something we're going to look at carefully amongst ourselves. And Deb, Alia, and Cami, feel free to chime in about anything else you want to say on this slide.
I think it's just important to recognize that this trend really does align with making sure that we have found both the trusted community partner and then allowed that community partner to go out and engage with their population in the community. It's when those two factors happen that we see referrals increase. And so I think it's really astute of Thriving Together and vicariously the three of us together as a hub network to say who's the trusted partner, not necessarily that we should do the work, but who's the trusted partner in this section of our community, who can we contract with that already has that relationship, and how can we put those FTEs within the right organization instead of holding that for ourselves.
I would concur, and I'll add that it's that and the trust, the one-on-one trust between the client and the care coordinator. And that always isn't the right fit at first. It's no different than any of us, getting established with a primary care provider and the energy isn't quite right. And therefore we choose as the customer to change providers. And I think that's a nuance that we have found over the years. And once that trusted relationship, once we find that trusted relationship, the power of the change that can happen when the care coordinator and the client sync up and really learn how to work well together. Cami, is there anything else? I don't want to put you on the spot, but I don't know if you have anything else to add. Doesn't sound like
We'll
it.
take that as a no for now.
I might just to a little bit to Manuel's comment earlier. So I want to note too that this is also focused statewide across the 9 ACHs. So there has been a look at how we're continuing to support building capacity, referrals, and enrollment of clients. Caroline also sits on a statewide measurement and data reporting work group with the ACHs and the healthcare authority. So there is also, I would also want to say these are kind of good growth trajectory data points that we're looking at. There's also other data points that we're collecting and reporting across the state with the 9 ACHs. And as a statewide group, we're also trying to align to the best of our ability, tracking data collection so that we can report as a state what this looks like as community care hubs of Washington. So there's also a lot of additional work going on between ACHs and the healthcare authority on refining and looking at these measure sets.
Next slide. Deb, this is yours. Take it away.
Yeah, this is my slide. This is Deb's first attempt to try to really get into describing what Caroline mentioned earlier about the growth. And I'm trying to think of what when you were talking about the strengthen network supports and really growing caseloads. So I'm going to go back to a comment that John, or actually it was Manuel's question and John's response. I can't begin to tell you all how grateful I am that you all recognize that there are partners doing the work. Therefore, you are not duplicating the services of existing partners. I think that's huge and unique because not only is Manuel hearing, like from his peers, as I put in the chat, we're hearing from our peers. It is not as easy for community partners to work with the other ACHs. And in the health home program, we are hearing that from peers. People are contacting Cami a lot to say, how are you strategizing and what are you going to do? So I really do feel continuing to work together like this, we are going to be a model that others are going to start looking at more and more. That's my belief. You all can prove me right or wrong in another year. We'll see how we do. So I have learned, I am learning, I'm old school. I'm a generation that didn't grow up with IT, but I'm learning how to use AI to help me look at data in a different way that my skill set has never allowed me to do. So the past experience with Health Home, as all of you know, I try not to overstate it, but we have had 12 years of experience of building a network. It was hard. It was grueling. I know Kathy Olson is on the call and she can attest to that. It wasn't easy to start up the Health Home program either, but now at year 12, things are starting to really work smooth. And I shouldn't say starting, things are working smoothly. So I went back and looked at data from the early days, which was before I was here at AHP, to see how long did it take to build up our network? How long did it take to build caseloads and reach stability in the supervisors understanding the nuances of how to build caseloads of their care coordinators and then maintain those high caseloads. So this slide is an attempt to show that, but in real time with our CCAs. So I've overlaid the September caseloads, just a snapshot from September, the caseloads by agency. So there's 8 columns there. I blinded them because it's probably not fair to put names on it at this point because we're still new. And then also the total hours that we're billing for. And what's really come out is history tells us from Health Home, it takes 2.5 to 3 years after startup of contract to get to that growth and stability, to get to that stabilized caseload numbers and to really figure out how to do the outreach, how to engage, how to build those relationships on a more consistent manner with the clients. And so this is showing like I think, oh, I put the legend in the bottom. The very first, the A, that's our brand new contractor. They're just barely getting started. So of course, there's cost up front, which makes the hours, it's reflected in hours, but that's cost. And the caseload is low. B, C, and D are the contractors that we brought in in the last 6 months, but they've had a few months to start receiving clients, but they're still in that growth phase. E, F, G, and H are our partners who have been with us for a while, including Rural Resources, who has probably 1 year less time under their belt in the program than the other 3 partners. So that's mostly, I just wanted to show you these trends in time. Our goal is to build our CCA contracts so we have some KPIs that we will be able to be sharing these directly one-on-one with our partners and using it to strengthen the quality of our hub. I think that's all my talking notes. And I know we started later than usual, so Deb will try to keep succinct with her messaging.
Thank you, Deb. So on the next slide, Peter, I know once you had asked for more stories from the field, so we've got some slides ready and some insights from the field, both in terms of what we're hearing from our care coordinators, but also what we're hearing from clients or what they're hearing from clients. So Alia and Deb, I think let's try to end. Let's just take 10 more minutes to go through all those slides just to give you a sense of pacing. Because another thing we have planned after we finish the presentation is we're going to send you all into breakouts and have you think through a little bit how this work connects with Thriving Together's mission, the Vital Conditions Network. So those questions that board members saw in their packet, we're going to send you in some smaller breakouts in small little huddles so you really have a chance to dig in for about 15 minutes, and then we'll bring you back and you can share some insights. And then for those in the room, we'll have our own little breakout live right here. So just to give you a sense of what to expect. So go ahead, Emilio.
And coffee.
And coffee, yes, it's back there. Okay, so then on the slide, just wanted you all to see some pictures from the in-person June convening we had, and these are the boots on the ground. Some of them are contracted community-based workers, some of them are referral partners, and they're all doing amazing care coordination work across our 4-county region. So Deb and Alia will walk you through some of the things we're hearing and noticing in the field. So Deb, I think you'll go next on the next slide, and then we'll kind of cruise through in the next 10 minutes.
Yeah, you bet. So I did this. I think it speaks for itself. I love to use quotes and find quotes that are exactly perfect for the situation. But these 3 word clouds are these questions are posed to care coordinators when they come to AHP for training for the community care hub. And we just ask them to vote or put their comments on the via Post-it notes onto the poster. And what Leanne is doing, she is our workforce training manager. She actually has been collecting these. So this is growing. My hope is these word clouds will change over time. It keeps growing the more people we train. In a nutshell, I think it is important, and I am happy to see that our care coordinators already know how important balance and health and taking care of themselves is in this work. And the rest says itself. They've got tools that are in place that they are already practicing, but it gives us an opportunity to see where else we can fill in the gap. Alia, what about you?
Yeah, one of the workforce development tools that we've recently employed, and recently over the last 4 or 5 months, has been engaging Teresa Pasiconi and some of the work that she's done around wellness and leadership. And self-care. And so taking some of that and applying it to the work of recovery coaching, understanding that we're taking vulnerable populations and asking them to use their lived experience to serve others. And so oftentimes we're putting them at risk, quite frankly, sending them back into what could potentially be triggering or traumatizing situations that other folks are experiencing in the moment that may be upsetting to them, even if they're not aware of the reaction that their body is having. So really coaching them not only as individuals, but as teams to support one another. And then also using that same coaching to empower leadership to be trauma informed in the way that they lead their teams, so that from the top down and the bottom up and across our teams, we have really good support for one another. So it's been super successful. I would say that Grant County is the furthest along in that process. But really exciting to see the progress of the teams and the organizational health that's coming out of that.
I agree.
Peter, I see your hand.
Oh.
Well, Caroline, I heard you mention my name and reflecting back on my request for stories. But before we, go into that and go into the breakout, I'm a huge fan of care coordination, care management, that everything that you're doing. But at some point, I would love us to step back to the vision part of this, because we get down into the weeds of building infrastructure and all that means. It can be very esoteric to me, even though I've done some of this work. So the question I have is, can we hold on to some sort of a vision of what it looks like when we're successful from a patient or client standpoint, from somebody working in an organization and maybe at the Uber level? What is it that we're working towards? How does it look now, and how will it look when we're successful? Because there are words tossed around: case management, care coordination, referral management. They all mean different things. So anyway, that's my interest ultimately, is to not lose sight of the vision and make sure that the board understands, what it looks like when we're never done, but when we're really hitting on, 6 of 8 cylinders at least. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I actually had the same question from our new director of operations today. Tell me what it looks like when we're successful. And so I can certainly go there right now, or Caroline, how do you want us to approach it?
I think that's a future thing.
Okay.
Okay. I know there's some things that you were going to share today that spoke a little bit to that. So maybe we can move on to then some of the sites.
So I'll jump in, Alia, and just say that the next 3 slides, these are another series of questions that are asked at the care coordinator training, and we're asking them what are their needs, self-reported. And so these are summarized, and this is what our team is going to use to really get into more details of ad hoc training or additional training beyond the general. And Alia, I don't know how you all feel about, or what you're learning from the needs of the recovery coaches, because I know there's nuances of difference, right?
Yeah,
And
I would
maybe you
say,
spoke to that.
yeah, I would say it's pretty consistent with the things that you have outlined here. And we're seeing, depending on where they're at in their journey through the workforce, we're seeing various levels of the need for workplace support and professional growth. But I would say those are probably the 2 things that stand out the most, both for us and for our partners.
Yeah, and I'm gonna jump in that last bullet that says local access. It may seem kind of confusing, but really what it means is employ people that live in the communities and find network contractors that are in the communities, because that's what our folks are, that's who our folks are familiar with. And so that's really important to us too. I think we can go the next slide. Maybe.
Trying.
It's the one that's, I think it's CBW training and support requests. Is that right?
Yeah, it should say, yeah.
Okay.
I can see it on, oh, there we
Yeah.
go. I was gonna say, I can see it on your screen, Caroline, but it's not moving for us.
Yeah, we're getting it
Yeah.
sorted.
And this just gets more into the weeds of what I just said. I think the other slide was more general coaching on how to make those community connections, whereas this is more, what are the focus areas of additional training they would like? Cami or Alia, either of you have additional comments?
Nope, looks good.
Okay. All right. So the next slide is a story. Peter, I was on the meeting that you asked about, maybe asked about stories. So this is, you should know Deb Miller well enough. This is a Deb Miller story, but it's incredible. I'm sharing it because there's so many layers to this story, because it's tied to an AHP staff member, but the relationship started building before they came here. So in general, someone that works at AHP is a trusted person of Scott's from up in Carlton. Scott has this, he's reopened the Carlton Motel and store, and he's turned it into affordable housing, and he's employing the folks in the store. And he saw some needs of some of his residents, and he reached out to Tina because he knew she came to work for us, and he wasn't sure exactly what she was doing. So he reached out to her to ask what to do with these folks. And so I said, Tina checked with me. I said, turn in the referral and contact Advance. They're in Advance's region. And by the way, send Scott a flyer, have him hang it up in the store. And so she did that. And literally, Alyssa, I think it was Alyssa from Advance, within 2 hours, drove from Okanagan or Omak, wherever Alyssa is stationed, up to Carlton and helped that woman. That same day, there was another one. The second paragraph is about a single mom who arrived with 2 children, her elderly mother that has dementia. This woman's been homeless for 6 months because of a divorce. And Scott gave her, that family, his personal room and submitted a second referral. And the text on the left is just his gratitude that he sent to Tina, like, thank you, the universe really aligned. So this story is to really help reinforce it has to start with relationship. And we need to put parameters on it, and we need to build, quality assurance around it, but it's about relationship. Would this have happened had Scott not contacted Tina? Probably eventually, but I think it was, it happened quicker because of that relationship, and it went from there. And Carlene, I know you could probably speak to this at length through all of the work that you all were doing for the recovery from the Carlton Complex fires. But this is a story, these are feel-good stories that we're trying to collect more of, because these are the stories that I watch during legislative sessions. If we could get the people to actually testify, it makes a world, it's a game changer in at the legislative letter is what I'll say, level. Sorry, I'm getting all tongue-tied. I'm passionate about this story. Thanks.
So Deb, where does the referral management system fit into this story?
So I can, Cammie will probably shoot me in the foot, but I was going to say I could put the online referral form, the link to it in the chat, but there is an online referral form that people can either self-refer or partners can refer a person into. I actually had 2 people that I helped over the weekend that needed to be put in. And it is kind of that initial referral that comes to Cammie and her team. Actually, you know what? I'm going to stop and say, Cammie, do you want to give a high level description of what your team does? Thanks.
Sure, it'll be short and sweet, but we either receive the referral, a program referral from community contracted network partners, which is, I don't have exact percentages, but it's about 90% come from our contracted network. So clearly they're the trusted messengers. We also get referrals via 211. Our team takes a look, SMART assigns out to the appropriate care coordination agencies, and then they take it from there.
Great.
I think Peter, in this case, just because of the relationship, also sometimes what happens, it's who you know. And sometimes some back.
Yeah, that's where I was going. Did Scott know about this system and he, you know, he tapped into it and did it work through that? Or would that be, is that a future vision that we would have something like
That's a
that?
future vision.
Okay.
That's a future vision. Once
Okay.
the IT system gets stabilized, it's a future vision.
Yeah.
Like people should be able to find a QR code and scan it and make the referral like that. So, yeah.
Okay.
And the
Thank you.
website that referenced earlier, Peter, is also an attempt at making the referral pathways in the hub way clearer to our community and to our referral partners. So I think that'll make sense when the board gets the link and can browse it's a pretty simple website, but
Thank you.
let's maybe move. Deb, are you okay just kind of breezing through this and moving to breakouts just so that we don't cut into the time for people to kind of make
Absolutely.
dialogue
This slide is just saying the care coordinators are already seeing these are the needs. And there's nothing that we don't know about, right? So we knew that. So let's move forward and talk about how we can fix these problems, right?
Sounds good. So we're gonna move to, if you can go to the last slide, Kristen. So those of you online, everybody who joined the meeting and is in the meeting right now is welcome to stay for breakouts. If you're not interested in having small group dialogue, this might be the time you pop off the meeting because I need to know who to assign to breakout rooms and who not to. Or if you get thrown into a breakout and you realize you don't want to be in there, you can always leave. But I have board members assigned to breakouts amongst yourselves. And just as a reminder, what we want board members to kind of make sense of or discuss are the questions that I'm going to put in the chat right now. And for advisory committee members that stay on, I'm going to send you in breakouts as well. And maybe you can think about how it links to your own organization's mission and or recommendations you have as an advisory member for our board when it comes to those 2 questions. So I'm gonna.
Would you like us to stay for the breakout?
Yes, Alia.
Okay. I just didn't want to crash anyone's.
And yeah, I will actually, Alia and Deb and Cammie, I'll be putting you in breakouts with some of our advisory committee members if that works for those that stay. So give me a second. And then what I hope to do, Linda, is have people come back in about 10 minutes. And then kind of share out what they discussed and any highlights that came out of their conversations in the breakouts, if that sounds all right to you.
Yeah.
Question.
You might have to load the questions again after we go into breakouts. Just
Sure.
sometimes they
Yep.
don't transfer over.
Yep.
How many breakouts do we have?
So we'll have 3 breakouts for board members of 3 to 4 members, and then the other guests are going to be probably 4 as well. And I think we are good. Hopefully this works fine. If I miss people, I'm not going to assign staff to breakouts. So this is mostly just advisory committee members and board members.
Okay.
And you should get a countdown in about 10 minutes and it'll bring you back to the main room. And just with your rooms, just pick one thing that came out of your discussion that you want to share with the whole group. That would be great. All right, I'm going to open the rooms. It should send you there automatically. And then those of you in the room.
I'm going to turn it over to how you'd like us to report out from the breakout sessions. Diane and I were blessed to have Ray in ours, so we got to hear some firsthand. So how do you guys want to do this? Might have to unmute. It's like Kristen's trying to figure it out.
All right, we're unmuted.
Okay. Thank you, Linda. We could hear you.
I could see Kristen like looking to, where's the button? She had that look about her.
Flustered.
So I think maybe just each room, both virtual and in person here, can just highlight like a key thing that came up for us to think about as the North Central Community Care Hub, or for the Thriving Together board to think about. So who was in room 1?
I'm embarrassed to say I don't know what our room number was.
I am too, Linda.
I didn't see a room number. Yeah.
We were 3.
Okay,
was in
man,
room
pay attention.
Linda, why don't you go first?
Your room 1. She is. I bet you got the.
I'm sorry, Manuel. I've been gone on vacation, so I am with you on this. Coming back to. All right, room 1. Honestly, I'll just say I don't know if we asked, and we didn't really get to the questions because Ray was sharing with us the benefits of the work, and it was so super helpful to where we both said we'd love to have a presentation, but just thinking about again, not specifically on the questions, but the importance around the building the relationships, the networks, where the resources are. And, from my perspective, just sitting and being in, I'm going to use the word, being in the community and learning someone's story as you support them. So those were my takeaways.
And it's fine if if you all go off prompt, like the whole point is to kind of think through this work. And if Ray's stories do that, that's great. So room 2 is Ruben, Carlene, Teresa. Anything you would like to share?
I'm happy to. I wrote a few notes. I think off the first question, we did do the questions, by the way. Collection of data that informs upstream strategies, I think was what we took. I think it's definitely every part of the stream. Like we thought that at any point a client could really get into the stream, either way up or way at the bottom, and that it's going to be beneficial and be preventative to something else a little bit down. The next thing that we talked about for the next question was, we'd really like to see that it's set up for its own success and sustainability. Although we also understand that there's not a lot of backbone organizations in our region, and that this is a really heavy lift. So we kind of went a little bit on the edge of, we want to continue to see it supported for much past 2028. What that looks like, we're not sure. Maybe it's, a smaller percentage of support, but that there is some support there and that it would be valuable for our community for it to be supported. So I think Colleen, Teresa, anything I miss?
No, that was great.
Awesome. Room 3, Dylan, Manuel, Nikki, or Peter.
Do you guys want me to report out? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
Well, I'm sound like I'm going to repeat everything that Ruben just said. It's always hard to go after Ruben. Um, but basically, yeah, it could be it definitely connects to the vision and mission, and it could be upstream, um, or downstream. I think what we feel is that the most urgent things are likely to get the attention first, but the longer we're at this, the more agencies and organizations that are upstream get involved in the referral process, and the more it works to that end of the spectrum. So um, yeah, we're very non-dual in our approach to life here. Um, regarding the second one, we too were leaning towards the second, which is setting them up for success. Although we think that we could help find funding. But I think the big thing for us is we would like this process to demonstrate efficacy in this time frame, as in a societal ROI that we could show how it benefits the community, both in a human way, but also financially, so that those people who pay a lot of money for downstream things can say, yeah, we would like to help fund this because it's in lieu of some of the downstream things. So that's what we're hoping we can do between now and the end of the waiver money. Is that anyone
Awesome.
else? Dylan, Manuel?
Better than I could dream of expressing it on this day. Thank you.
Okay.
So then we'll have our
Nikki, anyone
in-person
else?
group,
No.
Emilio and Rena, maybe you can share out something that stood out. And then for rooms 4 and 5, who were our guests and advisory committee meeting members, you are welcome to put any insights you want to share and you want to make sure our board sees in the chat. I'm just being mindful, Linda, of our time. So we'll just end with a report out from either Emilio or Rena, or both.
Well, I think our group talked a lot about avoiding duplication of services in our community in Okanagan, and how we can collaborate instead of compete. I mean, a lot of the care coordination is being done. So I feel after listening to the presentation, I feel like we're in a pretty good spot actually, to continue to move forward.
And then as it relates to the midstream neighborhood impact, addressing community-wide social factors influencing health, one of them would be trust with the community in light of everything that's going on. And but definitely I also agree that the duplication is an area where we need to really and then I've always said, you might disagree with me, that there's always enough resources in the system, especially when we pay attention where they are and how we connect them. And I think the community care hub can address some of that, some of that lack of knowing where the resources are sometimes, or and not duplicate.
Thank you all. I know that those 10 minutes flew by. I hope even a little bit of time together, just talk about the content you heard was fruitful, and hopefully we can build in more time in the future for you guys to make sense of the content we're bringing to you. And I'll lean on John to let us, our North Central Community Care Hub team, know when we need to bring updates back. And then we'll also circle back with like, what does success look like? And what is that vision? So thank you all for listening to the presentation, and advisory committee members, thanks for joining as well and continuing to engage in this work.
Right.
Linda, I'll give it back to you.
All right, thank you. Peter, this meant no nose goes. It sounds like your group assigned you to be the reporter. All right. Summer, I saw jumped on. She hasn't come off her screen, but I know that she's here. And she's going to discuss with us, a bit of the retreat summary. The exec committee has had a chance to have some dialogue around that. Some things to be thinking about as she provides us information. What are items discussed that may be missing from the report? And if there is one thing that our board should focus on from the retreat, what would that be? So those are our questions from our agenda. Look at John. I'm doing so good remembering those questions. Trying to have a little fun here on a Monday without coffee.
And I'm gonna jump in, and Summer's gonna support because Summer also has to hop off for another obligation at 4:30. So I'll try to give a kind of brief overview and Summer give your thoughts. But we have first off a shout out to Summer for putting together the report from the board retreat. And so you all have it in your packet. We've had an opportunity to review this with the exec committee as well to get some initial inputs around if it seemed to capture what we discussed and potential next steps. And ultimately, our hope is to share this with the board today, give the board the opportunity to review this and see, based on this discussion, anything that's been missed and we should focus on, because we're going to bring this back in December to articulate these are key next steps we really are going to take next year as part of this board retreat. And we're going to move this forward. And we're going to ask the exec committee to support some of that over the next year. So I'm going to kind of just as a high level, if you're on, I know we're one page, a few pages ahead, but if you're on page 28, the table of contexts, Summer did just actually a great job outlining what are the key things we summarize based on those contexts around organizational updates, board stewardship and governance, board culture and equity, board recruiting, an open space to figure out what are some strategic things our board wanted to discuss. You'll see in our parking lot a number of things that came out of the organizational update because we ultimately didn't want to spend too much time in that piece, but we really wanted to focus on the board and the board culture itself. And then we asked Summer to put together, based on some of the feedback and what she heard facilitating, what she identified some key next steps out of that. And Kristen, I apologize because I'm gonna bounce around a little bit, so bear with me. So you can stop there. Again, you guys can see the introduction, retreat focus and areas as outlined, and some of the retreat objectives. So again, it was really around board role and clarity, creating a culture, and talking about governance. We really wanted to step away from the day-to-day operations and focus on what's our role, who we are as a board, and what kind of get in more of a discussion retreat visionary process as a whole. I want to jump to board page 6, board culture and equity. Just because prior to the retreat, we asked everyone to, we had the exec committee do board interviews with all the board members that provide a summary of that. And you can see here, just one of the basic questions that was presented at the retreat was, what do you think is working well about our board culture right now? And so based on those responses, you can see what are kind of ranking what worked best to, this wasn't, I should say they opted in. There was not an opt out. So just because something ranked low doesn't mean that it's a disaster. It just means it's just what a board member didn't choose. So it wasn't really what came top of mind when this question was asked. And if you go to the next slide or next page, actually, you can see kind of the reverse question, where do you see opportunities for improvement in how we collaborate as a board? And Summer, I know you have to jump off in 5 minutes, so I do want to make a little bit of space of your thoughts and comments as a whole. So as you saw some of these responses and some of the input in the board, what really stuck out to you?
Can y'all hear me okay?
Yep.
Great, thank you. Well, first, I just wanted to say thanks to Thriving Together for offering such great training, because part of the reason why I was able to put together a comprehensive board retreat report is from all the art of hosting activities that I participated in.
and all the great modeling from some of the training that I've done through the network. I would say that let's see, maybe skipping to the very end, John, to the page, or Kristen, to page 15, which has a possible 2025 outline. I think everything else I tried to capture more or less what I heard throughout the day and what was reflected in the notes and the various worksheets that you filled out and the sticky noting and big pieces of paper. So I captured all that content, but this was my attempt to synthesize what I heard as a potential approach to following through on some of the key action items from the retreat. So if I were to recommend the board to discuss anything today, that I pulled this together after walking through the full report with the executive committee and then capturing what I heard their discussion based on the report to be. So this is one approach that you could take to how to follow through on what you discussed throughout this upcoming year. And do you want me to talk through this specifically, John?
Well, is there one or two things you'd probably highlight out of this piece that you think they should focus on?
I think anything that was brought forward by the board. So one example is the board self-assessment. So that is a breakout open space conversation that Peter hosted. And I think that's something that's achievable. Peter, I see you have your hand raised. So do you want to go ahead and add something about that?
Yeah, I was just noting that you're suggesting we launch it in Q1, but I don't see it coming back again, after we've done the assessment to report out and, so I'm not sure if we need to build that in or whether that's assumed it'll happen at some point, but anyway.
Yeah, I might not have that coming back again until the end of the year. And in which case, yeah, it might be more beneficial to immediately review that at the next board meeting. So that's the kind of thing that I think would be helpful for the board to talk out over is did I capture the key top action items and takeaways, and then how are they timelined? Are they timelined appropriately? Is there anything else you'd like to see on this timeline?
And I know it, and because Summer did a good job capturing things, as you read through the report, it really does identify a few potential action items and options as you go through it. So Summer tried to capture that as much in that 2025, 2026 timeline with what I'm assuming Summer you thought was actually reasonable to do at that same point in time. So I think it's highlighting as we look through some of this, is there anything you think we really missed that really needs to be put in here? Or anything you think just doesn't hit the mark? And we don't need full answers today. I think today was really an ultimate goal of presenting this and getting it in front of board members and creating a process to provide feedback over the next month so that we can come back at the December meeting and share really more of a consistent, specific, this is what we're committed to do as an org and as a board moving into 2026. And Linda, Emilio, I know you're both part of the exec committee discussion, so is there anything else you would call out on this report?
Go ahead.
Sorry. Already felt different. It's already felt like what we discussed that this board, that we could do to engage and be more interactive with the board. So so my comment is this meeting already feels like what we did discuss, and so thanks for listening.
Yeah, I agree.
And that was spurred off of the board. One thing we pulled from the board retreat was board members wanting to be able to have more discussion, less presenting. I can't promise we always hit the mark on that. And that's something to think about even in this meeting and that example is that really getting closer to more discussion, less presenting, or is there even things we need to tweak further to really say, I just need X, Y, and Z, and then we need to bump into discussion?
Yeah.
We as staff will probably always gravitate to over explaining things if you give us the option to do that.
We're gonna take that option. No, I think
So,
we're gonna.
go ahead.
Go ahead, Pete.
No, I was just going to say, I really like the idea of us coming back and discussing it. And given that, this is new and I mean, Summer, I really think you did a good job in bringing it all together. And my suggestion is more of a process one of maybe, is there a way that we can gather input offline so that people actually read it, comment on it, and that we can then build on that in the conversation. Because if we just come a month from now and look at it again, I'm afraid that time will have passed. We won't be able to do it in a meeting very efficiently. That's my suggestion from a process standpoint.
Good point.
There's a lot there.
So I'm not gonna go through this in all detail at this point in time. And I'll take Peter's comment, but for board members who've had an opportunity to review this prior to the meeting today, as you think of that, is there one or two things you feel like we missed or should include as part of this next steps? Has anything stood out to you all that we should consider as we're collecting feedback this next month?
I think I'll just jump in with talking about the concept of a board buddy and onboarding, as we have 2 new board members here.
I have to echo that, because although every single board member here brings a lot of competence and experience in what they do, I mean, I've been here a year. It took me that long to kind of get into the understanding the need of how this board can support the mission and the staff. So, and it helped me get there quicker by making those connections with board members that have been in this board for a couple, 3 years, and it really helped me understand that, how we can support that. And I mean, in a year, I've totally seen it evolve, so I truly appreciate, I agree with that, Linda.
So I may process-wise, knowing this first came out, and so not a lot of people have full comments, is the assignment for all board members is to read through the retreat document. Summer, maybe we can work to send out 2 key questions, whether it's by a Survey Monkey or something, to ask board members to respond to, that we can bring to the exec committee in November to kind of finalize and bring a final recommendation in December. And then at that point, no one has an excuse not to have read the document. So
Yes.
Summer, does that work for you, or any other final thoughts?
Yeah, that sounds great. And I tried to build it so that it's skimmable. So it doesn't need to be read word for word. You can have a glance at the headings and take note of generally what was captured, and then see if what I've put together in terms of a proposed timeline on that final page matches what you think was most important to have come from the retreat. Yes, I'd be happy to work with you on some questions, John.
Perfect. Any other comments from board members or exec committee members?
To me, the key point is strategic direction. And it was evident during the budget discussion today that there's a lot of thought have been put into that strategic direction, and how to, and intentional is the word. Like, do it like you really meant to do it. You know, when it comes to a strategy of how do we support the network that we are building to thrive, you know, so. A true focus on that, I guess is what I'm saying. You know, and a measured focus, like we're checking in with ourselves, you know, and saying, how do we know we got in there? Somebody said it earlier. How do we know we are going in the right direction?
Perfect. All right, we will leave it as just kind of, this was really a brief update. Thank you, Summer, for joining. Again, as you read through it too, if you have any questions, it doesn't have to be strict to the questions Summer and I send out, but there'll probably be a section for any input as well. And we'll bring this back in December. So with that, I'll turn it back to Linda.
You're muted.
You're on mute.
Thank you. My two dreaded words, you're muted. All right, final thoughts. One of the questions we have is just final thoughts around all board. What are the community concerns around health and well-being you are hearing in your circles? This isn't necessarily an around the horn, it's just a call out.
Grave
Well,
concerns over Medicaid and SNAP.
yeah, food.
Yeah.
I would echo that on food. There have been whisperings that, or I guess less about whispering, more about shouting that as some people mentioned earlier, the food pantry and food pantries in general are seeing an influx of need, but specifically the Freda food pantry is in need of some help. So there have been some community organizations in the schools rallying around doing food drives and whatnot, but that's definitely something that's been on our radar.
Thank you.
I would say every food security organization in Chelan Douglas is doing work on it right now. I got at least 3 emails in the last week from different ones, and then another one from the college today. So
And Okanagan is doing things as well, so there's a lot of activity around this.
I'd be curious.
Go ahead,
Go ahead, Ruben.
Head Start. So Wenatchee's Head Start is dipping into its own reserves to keep going. I know other Head Starts have said that they're going to close or don't have the funds to do that. Fortunately, they do. So their ED has said that we will continue to pay, but I don't know how long that's going to go.
Yeah, that's accurate. That's across the state. Some have reserves that are continuing and some are worried.
I think the big safety issue I hear, and it's getting louder, is people feeling safe gathering. Especially if you know, you're a person of color and speak Spanish.
And I was just gonna say, go ahead, Nikki.
Oh, it's okay. I was just gonna say in my circle, this is not a new thing, but especially in more rural areas, just a continued lack of access to especially mental health and substance use treatment. And a lot of those solutions provided are around digital solutions, and there's not even an infrastructure for that in those areas. So just wanted to put that in there.
We're also following what's happening with the low-income heating assistance program, energy assistance program, because it's been cut out of the president's budget and Congress has not brought it back yet. There are 1,000 people that rely on that in Okanagan County alone, so that's a concern. As is so many other programs that are being cut.
Yeah, and the question I'd love to pose to the board, and maybe not a 4:40 p.m. question, but you know, thinking of our mission and vision as an organization as we've tried to shift into this, you know, we do like always interplay as, because in some ways these are crises or, you know, that come up, you know, we think of the pandemic, we think of this, sometimes it's man-made, sometimes it's a virus. How should our organization intersect in these kind of things, and what role does Thriving Together interplay with this? Recognizing to Reno's point that, you know, we're not set up to try to solve everything, and that if we try to do that in every single crisis, every place, we might exhaust our resources and staff. But I do think at times it's worth noting and understanding where we think we should play and what's our role in this, if we have a role in some of these issues and discussions. And I don't know if board members have thoughts, or if that's worth discussing at a future meeting.
John, I think you're raising a really good point, because, you know, if we carry on at business as usual with, you know, upstream, very forward-thinking things when, you know, people are suffering seriously around us. I mean, there's a point at which you say, okay, we're in a new paradigm right now. We need to pivot. And I don't know if that's now, but I think we definitely should discuss whether, you know, we have a role to play in a crisis.
Yeah. Deb, you had your hand.
On the ground, it is hard to talk about some of the higher level things when you have clients who are struggling and your programs are being cut.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to interject, and if Cammie's still on the call, it's a good thing she's not next to me. She'd probably kick me under the table, but I want to remind us and our partners who have been CCAs since COVID, Care Connect, know this. We know how to build the system to provide groceries to individuals. We have that system. We have that operation workflow, how to receive the referrals and get groceries to people. Carlene's husband, Gene, delivered, a bunch of partners did. We just need the funding. So I'm willing to enter into that conversation if the crisis gets bad, but I don't have the funding. I can operationalize it. So just want to put that out there as a possibility, because my internal staff is starting to panic, and not panic for themselves, but they're trying to figure out what they can do as individuals for our community, because it's just so in our face right now.
Give to the food pantries and food banks. There's a system set up for that. Now, that's not home deliveries, like what you were doing before, but there is a system in place.
Yeah, and it would take coordination, Rena, with all of you and your peers, because there are the people that are homebound. So how do we set up the system so the care coordinators can identify what's the protocol for those who are homebound that need the delivery? We have the grocery stores, we can re-enter into those contracts. We have all of those partners. We just stopped it because the funding ended, but I think there's some real things to think about and strategize if it gets that bad.
Yeah. John, I guess bring us back around. I didn't know where you wanted to take this. This was a piece for board thoughts and reflections, not necessarily answering and providing directions for next steps. That's under your purview with the staff.
No, but I get a sense that, like, you know, the board would be interested in continuing to look, how do we pivot, and or what's our role as we try to, you know, operationally stay upstream in this work, but knowing, and Peter, you said, well, when a crisis, and Rena, when a crisis comes and people are hurting, sometimes we can't just stay the course with blinders on. We have to understand what are our potential roles and our implications in that, because sometimes we might have to get someone over the crisis to get them into a spot of thriving and moving into upstream work. But we also have to recognize if we get stuck in there ourselves, we're going to table some of this work as well. And it's good to also have someone keeping that as a North Star.
Well, this is all gonna kind of accumulate towards the middle of next year when contracts come out and Medicaid cuts are in place, the cuts are in place. HUD is, whatever cuts they're making, but they're looking at, cutting, Section 8 vouchers. So all of housing, food, utilities, medical, it's all being cut. Or at least being talked about being cut. And if that all happens, rural communities like ours are gonna be hurting, significantly hurting.
I'd be really curious to know if there are any new, maybe, if they're private foundations or just other sources of funds that might, be stepping in this kind of crisis. I mean, if government is cutting everywhere, what kind of foundations or, that we might try and tap into.
Well, we haven't heard from Microsoft yet, so.
So going to Linda's point, I don't know that we have direct next steps or solutions, but as others on the board are hearing this, are there any other thoughts?
It's a little overwhelming, actually.
You're asking the right questions, John, and I think it's good conversation among staff to maybe advise the board.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we can bring this to the meeting in December, as kind of more of an open-ended question with some thoughts from our team and get some input from the board. And, this is just a one case example on, how we would intersect in these conversations. And to the point of the food assistance and SNAP, there's an immediate need here. But let's be honest, in our existence as an organization, this isn't the first time this has ever come up. So understanding our role in these situations and how we react will only, as for us as an organization, be able to help us more actively respond to these things so that it's not a month down the road and we're having these conversations. So I know we can provide some examples as an organization, but also strategic direction as a board is useful to understand where the board thinks our role is too. So this can come back in December.
Good idea.
Right. Okay, just for the board, it is that time of year. You'll be receiving an email from me regarding as we do the process of our executive directors. We're recording our executive directors evaluations, so be prepared to see an email from me on that. And unless there's anything else, I think we can adjourn, John.
Nope, nothing else. Thank you all for your time, and I hope you had a good holiday weekend this last holiday.
Yeah.